In this video, we're going to talk about angles. So first question would be, what would be an angle defined? What's the definition of an angle? Well, it's pretty simple. It's actually just space between two lines that start from a common point. So for example, in this example right here, we have two lines, this line here and this line here. They start at a common point, which we call a vertex. A common point is just called a vertex. And the space between those two lines, which will be this space right there, this is our angle, right? So remember, an angle is just defined as space, the space right here, between two lines that start from a common vertex. In this case, a vertex is just a common point where two lines start from. So it's a common point where two lines start from. Now you need to also be able to know how to actually name a angle. So in this case, how will we name this angle right there? But first, if you name angles, you often have the angle sign, which would be this sign right here. That's the angle sign. Now you need to remember that the vertex that it starts from, so the angle is right here and it's next to vertex A, point right here, will be in the middle. And the other two vertexes, in this case vertex B and vertex C, are on either side of it, right? So that's simple. Now we've already named our angle. Just make sure that the vertex where the angle is actually located next to, we put in the middle, and the other two, if it's a triangle, the other two come on either side of it, right? So make sure you just know how to name an angle. So an angle is just space between two lines that start from a common point, but we can also measure that with something called a protractor. So you need to be able to use a protractor. A protractor is just this kind of device right here. That's a protractor. Now how to do that is pretty simple. I'm just going to draw a line, right? So if you use a protractor, obviously these are meant to be straight lines. You want to make sure that you have one of the sides at 0. Right? So here this side will be at 0, and the other side you just line up straight, and then you can find out. So this is the angle we're trying to find, this angle right here. And now we can look at, okay, it starts at 0, and where does it go up to? So it goes up all the way to, it says 70 is here. So it's between 60 and 70. So in this case, the angle would be roughly 68 degrees, right? So you make sure when you have an angle you're looking at, you line up one of the angles at the 0, you put the line straight at the 0, and then you just read at where it opens up to, what number it opens up to. In this case, it's about 68. And make sure you remember that all angles are always in degrees. So if you see this kind of sign right here, that's the degree sign. So you know it's talking about angles. You also need to be aware of the types of angles and the names of the angles. So make sure you know these 6 angles I'll go through right now. The first one is called the acute angle. Acute as in cute because it's so small. So acute angle is an angle that is less than 90 degrees. So for example, this angle right here could be, let's say, 70 degrees. So all acute angles are less than 90 degrees. Next angle would be the right angle, and it looks like this. It's a box, and often you can see a dot in the middle. And this right angle is exactly 90 degrees, right? So an acute is less than 90 degrees, whereas an right angle is exactly 90 degrees. Now next is obtuse, and obtuse you can already see here, if that's 90 degrees, this right there, then this will be bigger than 90 degrees. So obtuse is between 90 and 180. So it's bigger than 90, but smaller than 180. So for example, we might have, let's say, this might be 140 degrees, right? So obtuse angles are bigger than 90, but smaller than 180. Now right here we have a straight angle. Now it comes from, this is supposed to be a straight line, right? So a straight line. And if you have the space in between that straight line, that's basically, will be exactly 180 at this angle. Now reflex, so if that's a straight line, this would be 180. So we basically have more than 180. So reflex angle is going to be something between 180 and 360. Bigger than a straight angle, right? So this could be, let's say, this angle right there could be about 240. So a reflex angle is bigger than 180 but smaller than 360. And finally, we have something called a revolution. That's just a complete turn, right? People often say you've done a 360. That means you've done a complete turn. So one revolution is a complete turn, which is exactly 360 degrees. So 360. So make sure you know those 6 angles, the names of them, how they look like, and how many degrees they can be. So acute less than 90, right angle exactly 90, etc., etc. Now you also need to be able to figure out how to get a missing angle. So for example, right down here we have a scenario where we have one angle given, which is this one right here, 70 degrees, but we're trying to find this question mark, this angle right here. We don't know that angle. We're trying to find out what that angle is. Well, what you can do is you can figure out what this whole angle is, right? So this whole angle right here, that one is a straight angle, right? So it's just a straight angle because it goes a straight line, and that's a full 180 degrees. So we know that's a straight angle, that must be 180. So what we can do now is we know that the whole thing is 180, and we have one of them given, which is this blue one, which is 70. So we take from the whole, we take away 70. We're left with the thing in red, the angle in red, which would be 180 minus 70, which would be 110. So you need to be able to figure out how we can calculate missing angles if we have other angles